Alberto makes landfall in Mexico on today's Tropical Weather Bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for June 20th. So we managed to get that tropical storm in the Atlantic, and it was coming. It is Tropical Storm Alberto, and it's making landfall near Tampico, Mexico right now, with winds near 45 miles per hour. It's the 21st storm to form around the world so far this year, and we are code blue. It was yellow briefly for Alberto, but the rainfall parameters have slightly decreased. Day 20 of Atlantic hurricane season, and of course we've got Alberto making landfall. Behind it, a 60% chance for another system that could be almost identical to it, and still 20% we're watching for the coast of Florida for that potential system moving in the next few days. Well, on day 37 of the Eastern Pacific hurricane season, there's still no areas of interest, and we're not expecting any over the next week or two possibly, so it's a pretty quiet basin right now. In the Western Pacific, we are watching an area of interest that's going to be entering the fray in the South China Sea in the next few days. We're giving it 10%. It was 20 yesterday, but models have loosened it up a little bit on more recent forecasts. Nonetheless, it could be a big rain event for Vietnam and southern China. We have no areas of interest in the North Indian Ocean right now, just a few thunderstorms along the coast of northern India and in West Bengal. Apart from that, generally pretty quiet there, a few thunderstorms building inland as well in the evening. And in the southwest Indian Ocean, a cursory look at that region, nothing going on right now, and of course we're not expecting anything. We're into the off season here, well within the off season now. It's winter time down in the southern hemisphere and it's all quiet. So let's end at Tropical Storm Alberto. It peaked with winds of probably 50 miles per hour. We're not sure yet, we'll have to reanalyze. But it's currently 5 kilometers from Lomas del Real, 37 from Tampico, 115 from Ciudad Mante, 185 from Ciudad Victoria, and 428 from Monterrey. The storm about to move inland at a westward motion, and already it is starting to lose itself by the looks of it on satellite imagery, which we'll show you shortly. Tropical storm warning still in effect for the whole region south of the Rio Grande. So let's take a look at it on satellite right now, and there has been some suggestions that it may have already lost its low-level circulation. I can't really argue with that. Looking at this imagery, it looks very disheveled as it slowly moves inland there. Most of the convection has been inland for quite some time this morning, so really on the backside of this storm you really won't be seeing very much in terms of rainfall, but you'll probably still get some strong winds. Possibly this is still the strongest winds. Now this is the other area of interest at 20% out in the western Atlantic there, heading towards the east coast of the United States. And looking out over the eastern Atlantic, just wanted to point out the huge amount of dust that's over that area right now, that's being shoveled off the coast of Africa in very high numbers there by the looks of things, being swept across the whole Atlantic. So here's a close-up on the Force 13 floater imagery of what's going on with Alberto right now, and you can catch all of this live on our stream. We're running an automated stream 24/7 on the Force 13 channel, which has all the latest information and imagery on this storm and whatever's coming up next. But as we take a look at all this, still some decent cloud tops, especially inland there, looking further west, well to the -80s, so we're certainly looking at significant rainfall amounts probably over those areas. There's a little rudimentary rainfall calculator on satellite imagery, possibly a few areas in pink there at 40 millimeters per hour. And here's a partial radar. It's from Texas, so you won't be able to see the storm actually making landfall, but you can see some of it and its circulation there, possibly still there on the lower levels looking at that radar imagery. Wide shot of the east coast of the United States shows that little low pressure system still moving on towards the coast of Florida, 1014 millibars, and this is down in the Caribbean now. A few little areas of thunderstorms could possibly end up becoming that next system, but we can't really pinpoint anything that's part of that yet. And this is off the coast of Africa, a little system moving off the coast there, but battling with huge amounts of dry air. Eastern Pacific, just got some monsoonal pattern of cloud cover there, and rainfall still sporadic across the coast of South America. That could be revving up again in a few days. And in the Western Pacific, it looks like this. There's quite a lot of rainfall across the Philippines right now, apart from the northern tip. But apart from that, nothing too organised. And in the North Indian Ocean, a very high area of cloud, or large area of cloud, extending high up into the sky with high cloud tops there, with thunderstorms along the coast of West Bengal. Arabian Sea looking fairly quiet, but a few thunderstorms once again being blown off the coast of Western India. Sea surface temperatures are remaining pretty good in the Eastern Pacific, although there's a few areas that it's been fractured up a little bit, but generally we're still looking at temperatures pushing 30 degrees Celsius off the coast of Mexico. In the Gulf of Mexico, Alberto's just tracked over some very warm waters of 31 to 32 degrees Celsius. The rest of the Gulf still looking decent, but not quite as hot as it was. Caribbean Sea also, high temperatures near Puerto Rico right now. That's probably the hot spot there. In the Western Pacific, it's boiling hot off the coast of the Philippines, out towards the east there, a big area of 31 to 32 degrees Celsius waters, extending up to southern Taiwan as well, and across the South China Sea. Bay of Bengal, a few spots there of very warm waters as well, and the Arabian Sea really hotting up as well for a little while there, with temperatures pushing 32 degrees Celsius. And for what it's worth, this is what the southern hemisphere basins look like. The southwest Indian Ocean, those 26 degrees Celsius waters, really getting away from Mozambique now and from Mauritius. Looking towards the Australian region, there's still a few spots there of warm waters out over the ocean there, but generally along the coast those temperatures have decreased substantially, even up the Cape York Peninsula. And in the South Pacific, around Fiji, temperatures still actually built up a little bit again there, still 26 to 27 degrees Celsius off Fiji there, but generally those temperatures are declining. Well, compared to average, what does it look like then? The Atlantic still with a massive area there of very warm waters compared to average in the main development region over the open ocean into the Eastern Caribbean, 3 to 4 degrees above average. Eastern Pacific is hot and cold, but generally in the main areas it's a little bit above average. And in the Western Pacific it's around 2 to 3 degrees above average almost across the board. Northern Indian Ocean also looking good. So in general, all of these areas are looking pretty ripe. Oceanic heat content, there's a few spots there in the Eastern Pacific into the greens and yellows, which is pretty good for that area. And the Western Pacific, absolutely huge amounts of oceanic heat content and energy there for tropical cyclones coming into this summer period. And in the Atlantic, there's still a decent track there of oranges and reds showing very high concentrations of oceanic heat content there, extending from the Lesser Antilles through the Caribbean via Jamaica and on towards the Gulf of Mexico through the western tip of Cuba. GFS computer model for the next 5 days then, you see Alberto swinging through Mexico very quickly there, and behind it another system taking its place pretty quickly by the 23rd probably, or maybe even earlier than that, and it also shovels itself up towards the coast of Mexico as well, Tamaulipas once again. So another system there following in the footsteps of Alberto definitely, and probably has even less time than Alberto did to become a tropical cyclone, but still those chances are there, and we could see a rinse and repeat there with what we've already seen. And here's the South China Sea system that ends up possibly developing towards the end of this 5-day period. There's a low pressure system there that gets itself going off the coast of Hainan, and it moves on into the Gulf of Tonkin, and by the end of that 5-day period it's about to be replaced by a new low pressure system to its east on the eastern end of that Gaia, I suppose it might be by that point, and that ends up developing into maybe another tropical cyclone. And looking at rainfall estimates for the next 7 days, not forgetting that eastern system as well moving towards Florida could be delivering some significant amounts of rainfall there in the next 7 days, but the main area of concentration is where Alberto is right now, where high rainfall estimates moving inland from Tampico could result in rainfall maximums of around 17 or 18 inches. Now that's getting up towards 450 millimeters. In general, across Central America, fair amounts of rain there as well, getting up to 8 inches in a few spots, 200 millimeters. And in Florida, getting high amounts there of 6 inches and even up towards the border with Georgia and Alabama. In the longer range then, we're looking at day 5 to 10. You can see that system takes on a new appearance and becomes a definite tropical storm, moving on towards the coast of Hainan and the Leizhou Peninsula and into the rest of southern China. There it is once again, around 25th, 26th. Watch out for that one, but still low chance on that one. It's the GFS that's really propping the percentage chances up to 10% there. The other models aren't that interested. Scan the barcode and that will take you through to the Force 13 merch store. We have all of our usual items as well as our full season and individual storm animations on request. And I'm still waiting for Hone t-shirts, but at this rate it's going to be still waiting for the Eastern Pacific, I think, because we still don't have a storm there. And we don't have it in the Scilly range either. In the Scilly range instead, day 10 to 16, we have a speculative system that forms there in the Western Pacific, becoming a very tight system and a typhoon briefly before moving into central southern Taiwan and then on towards the coast of China. Very long range. We're into the sort of the middle of the first week of July, so I would say that is not something to be concerned about yet at all, but something to look out for possibly as we keep tracking the tropics. On this day, a bona fide typhoon. It was Typhoon Linfa on June 20th, 2009. Can you believe it's been 15 years since that date? And that storm was heading northwards. I can't remember where exactly it went. I think it went into southeastern China, and it was peaking on this day with winds of 85 miles per hour. The Eastern Pacific was about to get a storm as well, if I'm not mistaken. You can see a little low pressure over there, and the Arabian Sea had a low pressure system as well, which I think also became a system, at least a tropical depression status, over the next few days. But on this day it was Linfa's day. And this year it's Alberto, and that's just moving inland right now. We will be seeing the back of it very shortly. The next name in the Atlantic is Beryl. In the Eastern Pacific we're still waiting for Aletta, and in the Central Pacific it's still Hone. 21 storms so far in 2024. We're still around 35% below average so far. In the Western Pacific, next up is Gamy. In the North Indian Ocean it's Asna. And Alberto put an end to the latest start to the Atlantic plus East Pacific season. Back to 1962 was the last time it was so late. In the Australian region, the next name is Robin. Southwest Indian Ocean, if it's this week, it's Jeremy. If not, it will roll over to a new naming list. And in the South Pacific, the next name is Pitta. We'll see you again tomorrow.
Become an Ultimate Fan today.